Welcome everybody back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. You already know who I am. I'm Tristan Harlan alongside my co-host, my good buddy, the man, the myth, the legend, Cooper Melder. Cooper, how you doing on this fine day?
I'm doing good. It is a little cold here, but you know, we're striving, making it through and ready for another episode.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you know, we may be cold here in Jay Vegas, but let me tell you, the men's basketball team is red hot in conference play. They've been playing very, very well, and there's a lot of rumors going around that, you know, with the conference tournament coming up, that Arkansas State may be that number one seed, as they're the number one team in the conference right now.
Well, if they can get the number one seed, I'm not really sure how the bracket works, but I'm pretty sure if you're the number one seed, you get a couple buys, a couple days off to relax, get your muscles ready. And, you know, a win here and a win there. Next thing you know, Selection Sunday comes around and the Red Wolves are playing in March Madness.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, it was just announced today that Norchad Omier once again won Sun Belt Player of the Week. What a behemoth he is inside the paint, whether it's dunking, rebounding, or even blocking shots. The man can do it all. We talked about him a little bit last week and how he's been playing very great overall. But Cooper, who could have predicted something like this? A freshman playing as well as he is. As you see the highlights on your screen now, and man, Desi Seals was just a physical offense there getting that layup. But Cooper, what an exciting time it is to be a men's basketball fan.
It's very exciting. Norchad, a freshman, I mean, he's done everything a freshman can dream of. He's averaging a double-double. He's getting 3 to 4 blocks a game. I mean, he's been absolute dominant, and without him on that court, they probably wouldn't be in the first seed, which they are in right now, because, you know, everyone thought Desi would be a star power, and ever since he got that red hair, he's been going some star power mode. But Norchad, he's been taking it over, and it's just been fun to watch. If you haven't gone to a game, if you haven't seen Norchad, you need to go, because Desi and Norchad, two-headed monster, it's something you can't miss.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you was running a little bit of camera on the sidelines there last game for good old Payton Burr, and man, we saw it all. Desi Seals dunking all over the place, Norchad dunking all over the place. Man, these guys are easily the most dominant duo in the Sun Belt. I mean, you know, Desi coming from Arkansas and everything, you know, it's kind of funny how A-State's doing this well with Desi, and Arkansas is the first team out of the bubble for the March Madness tournament if it was to start today. But man, just like we were talking about, man, you just got to look at the standings. If you see it on your screen now, Arkansas State at 4-1, App State right behind them at 6-2. These two teams have gone neck and neck all year. Exciting basketball if you're really that big of an A-State fan, just like we are, Cooper. But, you know, you really hit home where you said if you haven't came to a game this year yet, you really need to make it out, because it's not only an exciting time for us as A-State analysts, but it's an exciting time for fans of Arkansas State University, because, you know, just like we said last week, the football year wasn't that hot. You know, Butch Jones' first year, but, man, this basketball team has all the potential to be that Cinderella story in the dance.
Well, it's one of those things, if you haven't gone out to a game, you have to go. I mean, the attendance numbers, you had a bad football season. You need to go to the basketball games. Our men's and women's teams, they're heating up right at the right time, and it's something you don't want to miss. You don't want conference tournament to come around and be like, dang, you know, I wish I would have gone to a game or two. I mean, I kind of missed out. Well, now's your time. Come out. You got all this week to prepare for it. We don't have a singles men's home game. We got a girls game home this Thursday. Show up, because I know we're looking at attendance numbers yesterday, and they were down. And you don't want to see it for the number one team in the Sun Belt? Come on. Show up to the game.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper, you said it yourself, and we looking at the attendance numbers, and to say they were down bad is just an understatement. They were absolutely horrible. I mean, at First National Bank Arena, you know, you see a lot of those empty seats, whether it's high in the nosebleeds or really close to the court. I mean, these teams need your support. I mean, sure, they've been dominant with not a lot of attendance numbers, but just think, a sold-out, packed house in First National Bank Arena here in Jay Vegas, Arkansas, for an Arkansas State basketball game. You know, really hasn't been seen since Arkansas State's women's team played Arkansas back in the NIT back in the day. And just like, you know, we talked about earlier this year about that game when they were about to play. But man, let me tell you guys something. If you come out, you will not regret it. I mean, sure, you may see Desi steal the ball and go whammy, give him some wham-wham sauce on somebody. But let me tell you, this is an exciting time to be a basketball fan. The Fun Belt is heating up. The conference tournament is right around the corner, and you don't want to be that fan, just like Cooper said, that was on the short end of the stick that didn't get to see none of these teams play.
Yeah, and it's just they're both great teams. Like you're saying, the women's teams, they have a great head coach now, and you really want her to stay there. And I mean, I agree. I'm going to be there Thursday working some camera for that game as well, so I'm going to see all the action up close. But I mean, not even a sold-out crowd, but just imagine the lower bowl just filled up with students there, fans there, maybe the upper bowl filled up a little bit. You know how much home court advantage helps in college basketball teams. That's why you see teams like Kentucky get upset when you have a sold-out crowd screaming, cheering for that team. It gets to the other team's head. And, you know, these games were close, and a packed house crowd would have been nice when shooting the late free throws in the game.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, it's really exciting. I mean, we said it and said it and said it and said it, and we can't say it no more. You got to come out. You got to support because, you know, right now, you know, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. We'd be in the dance, but we would be playing none other than the Duke Blue Devils. Imagine that game. Arkansas State with freshman sensation Norchad Omier and SEC transfer Desi Seals whooping the crap out of Duke. That would be an exciting game. I mean, you know, it would just be something that none of the A-State fans would want to miss. None of the A-State guys that, you know, really reported on Twitter or anything would want to miss. And that's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you don't get to see every day, man. I'm telling you, it's an exciting time to be an A-State fan, and it's an exciting time for basketball here in Jonesboro. And just think, in the fall, football is going to even kick up even more. So it's an exciting time to be in the Sun Belt or the Fun Belt, whatever you want to call it. I know we like to call it the Fun Belt to be funny, but it's just one of those things that you got to really realize that, man, this is a time to be alive. Sure, you got the scare of COVID, canceling all these games for the conference tournament, and you got to worry about not having a head coach for the women's team if they don't hire Coach Rogers, but you just got to look at these numbers. These guys are really producing entertaining quality basketball. I mean, you know, you just look at the men for a second. You know, you mentioned the red stripe in Desi's hair. Maybe it gives them magic powers. We never know. Maybe it's like Space Jam when they're trying to find Michael's secret stuff. Maybe the red hair in Desi's hair.
Desi's secret stuff.
Yeah, Desi's secret stuff right here. I mean, it's just one of those things that you never know what's going to happen at these games, road or home. So why not come out? Why not come cheer hard for the Red Wolves of Arkansas State? Why not make an impact while you still can?
And one thing that has going for both teams is the head coach. I mean, the men's game, if you're looking at head coach there on the sideline, he was getting into the game, screaming at his players. During the timeout when we just got going on a run, they were cheering him on, screaming at him. You know, he was getting into the game, getting the crowd into the game. And it's just, you love to see that type of energy.
Yeah, Cooper. I mean, it's an exciting time. Mike Bellato, he's really an exciting coach when he gets fired into it. But, you know, that's a little bit enough about the men's basketball side of things. But, you know, we just got a little bit of a special announcement to make right now. Red Wolf Roundtable has their own graphic communications major right here for your guys' entertainment. Grayson Murphy, welcome to the team. You see on your team now, Grayson Murphy has officially joined this team as our graphic designer and our social media coordinator. So that way, if you see all of our social posts, they don't sound like two crazy college kids just trying to be funny. We actually have someone that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it, and I know for sure you couldn't do it. Don't try to fool them, but we're glad to have her on.
Yeah, but that'll be it for this segment. We'll be right back to talk about a little bit of some surprise guest and a little bit of a surprise segment here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
Play Eric Amarola's Race Day Mix.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to Red Wolf Roundtable. We got a special guest with us now, all the way from the UK. Louie Walker has joined us back from his semester break. Louie, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. It's good to be back, and I'm glad to be involved with the show. Hopefully, you may remember from my slight cameo appearance in a certain skit a little while ago, but it's good to now be behind the desk. Sorry, Cooper.
Yeah, man. I mean, so professional wrestling has been a mainstay in a lot of families' homes for as long as I can remember. I know it's been in my home and your home all the way over that river or ocean, whatever you want to call it. But, you know, here in Jonesboro and even a couple miles from here in Memphis, you know, that's really where wrestling grew and became really famous. So, you know, it's a special occasion for all die-hard wrestling fans, hardcore wrestling fans, and casual wrestling fans alike. Because this Saturday from St. Louis, Missouri, we got the Royal Rumble, the official start on the road to WrestleMania. Louie, how are you feeling about this year's Rumble?
I think it's probably the first time for a few years that we don't know who's going to win the Rumble. You know, we've seen it in previous years. There was rumors that Edge was going to come back, and everyone was expecting him to do very well in the Rumble. But it's actually also an extra special year because, Tristan, you will be attending in person. You will be in St. Louis for the Rumble. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, it's good to know that the WWE will finally have some real talent inside the Rumble when I declare, because I will win the Royal Rumble match.
You heard it here first. We're up to 23 participants announced for the Men's Rumble with Tristan's addition.
Yeah, Cowboy Brock, I'm coming for your title. But regardless of that, no, it's going to be really fun. I'm going down there with my buddy Jake and his dad, Mr. Brewer, Mike Brewer, you know, Titans fan, sorry. We'll get into that a little bit later. But, you know, it's just a really exciting time to be alive. You know, ever since I was a kid, I can remember watching, you know, John Cena, you know, Randy Orton, all those guys. And now it's time, instead of going to a Monday Night Raw in Memphis at the FedEx Forum, I'm going to an actual pay-per-view in St. Louis. You know, next is a WrestleMania appearance for not only me, but for Red Wolf Roundtable alike. But, you know, let's go ahead and take a look at the card. We got a lot of exciting matches. I mean, Louie, we talked about this before the show about how we felt about the Rumble. So, you know, why don't you just kind of give your thoughts on the Rumble and what do you think is going to happen this year?
So there's a lot of big matches, and like I said, I don't think there is any set pick for either Rumble. As you can see on screen with the predictions, we are disagreeing a lot. But with the Men's Rumble, I think my pick is going to be Big E. I think the title reign was cut short after Roman tested positive for COVID. I don't like to bring reality into my booking, but I feel like the Seth storyline is a bit of a filler, as good as it is. And I think Big E's got a lot more to give, and I think this is his time. I think we obviously saw it with Drew last year. Had a great performance in the Rumble, went on, lost to Lashley, but I think that was the right decision. But I think this is Big E's time to get a WrestleMania moment.
All right, Louie, I mean, as you see my pick as AJ Styles. That's got to be your favorite. AJ Styles, you know, he's been around the world. He's won a lot of world titles in a lot of different companies, and now, you know, that he's in the WWE, kind of winding down his career. You know, the final resting spot for AJ. You know, he's been to TNA, he's been to New Japan Pro, he's been to Ring of Honor, he's been all over the place. But now that he's winding down his career, you know, he's still got a family with Wendy and all his kids, and now it's really time for his last push in the Rumble. I see him winning this, and, you know, going on to maybe beating Brock at Mania for the belt, or maybe, you know, if things work out to where Roman and Brock have a feud for the different title belt, then he can fight for the other one. So I got AJ win it, the phenomenal one. He's always been a fan favorite of mine ever since he was in TNA doing that run with Dixie Carter and them. You know, so that's my pick for the Men's Rumble is AJ Styles.
Now, see, I don't disagree. I think AJ, this would be the last feather in the cap, adding a Rumble win. And I also do like the potential of a storyline with Brock. I mean, we look at Survivor Series a few years ago. AJ gave it a damn good go, but couldn't get it over the line against Brock. I like that, but I think the build needs to have already started. I think people need to care about that, and if he's to win the Rumble, a lot of work needs to be done. A lot of building blocks need to be put in place. And also, I can't see him beating Lesnar. And I don't want two Men's Rumble winners to lose 2 years in a row.
Right, you really pushed that. You were talking before the show where Edge lost last year to Orton, and now that, you know, now we have Styles potentially winning and go on to lose Brock just like he did at Survivor Series. You know, I mean, you are right with the building blocks. You know, you got to have a build to a certain sort of pay-per-view, or you're not going to get the attendance numbers or the viewership numbers. But regardless of that, the Royal Rumble, that's the one time for any wrestling fan. You know, if you watched it back in the day and you was a fan of Rey Mysterio, you know, now he's back and everything, or, you know, if you watched all the way back when Stone Cold Steve Austin was still dropping stoners, flipping people off, drinking beer, doing his sort of shtick. But it's really time to really think about it and say, while yes, this is possibly AJ's last run in the company as a professional wrestler, as talent, you just got to think there's not really been a build to the Royal Rumble at all this year. Past years, you knew who was going to win it. You knew that Batista was going to come back and win the Rumble. You knew that Roman, regardless of how the crowd felt, was going to win the Rumble and get booed out of the building. You knew that in 2008. Well, you didn't know in 2008, but you knew Triple H wasn't going to win the bet. You knew he wasn't going to win the Rumble. But it's just time to really think long hard about what Vince McMahon's going to do for this Rumble. And I don't see anybody else besides Styles winning unless a legend comes back and really kind of kicks the forbidden door open, just like they're doing in the Women's Rumble, which we'll get to here in a second. And I just don't see, logically, anybody but AJ winning. I could see Big E winning, but I think right now that ship's kind of sailed for the moment. I think Bobby and Brock are going to have a little bit of a feud from the Royal Rumble to the next pay-per-view into WrestleMania. But I really see, especially with The Rock having his UFC deal, now I don't see Rock coming to the Rumble and winning it. Now, I wanted him to, but with him having this UFC deal, it's not going to happen. If it happens, oh well, I was wrong again. But it's just one of those things that I honestly don't see any other logical pick besides AJ Styles.
Now, see, the reason I think I've got to stick my support with Big E is because I think we've seen it previously when people have lost their title opportunities or lost belts. My thoughts are drawn to Cesaro losing to Roman last year. Cesaro just drops and he's gone. The same with Kevin Owens. I mean, he had that great matches about this time last year when he went all around the arena with Roman, and now he's signed this new deal and he's nowhere to be seen. So I think Big E needs to strike while the iron is hot. This is a man who's made Vince a ton of money with the New Day. I think he deserves that WrestleMania moment. And the exact same WrestleMania moments is what I want to talk about with the Women's Rumble, where I see Bianca Belair becoming a 2-time Rumble winner. Now, I just think that there's already, again, a built storyline there. Have her challenge Becky. We obviously saw the very quick loss that Bianca suffered when Becky first returned. And I think there's the storyline there. You've got the rookie learning from their mistakes. And I think Belair deserves the platform, really, to put on a spectacle of match, which we know her and Becky are capable of.
Right. I don't disagree with that pick, but I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, okay? So Lita, she's coming back into the Rumble. She says she has one good last run in her. She hits the twist of fate on Charlotte. Charlotte doesn't sell it right because Charlotte, stuck up. She wants to do her own thing, whatever. So you really have Lita coming in for a last run. Like, why not just give it to her and just let her have that sort of moment since they're really pushing the women's division now? And, you can have Becky do her own thing, whether it's with, anybody else on the roster, even if it's somebody returning, hint, hint, then, it's just going to be one of those things that I don't see anybody else but Lita winning this only because of the build they did on SmackDown. It's really time to really kind of, wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak. I mean, the only sort of build they have for this Rumble, other than them stupidly announcing all these names, which they shouldn't have done. I'm sorry, Vince, if you're watching this somehow, Triple H, if you're watching this somehow, Stephanie, whoever you are. If you're watching this, you shouldn't announce those names, especially Mickie James, because when the timer counts down and you hear either her WWE theme song or Hardcore Country and she walks out with the Knockouts Championship, that'll make a massive pop that'll get you a lot of money. Just saying, you ought to listen to me a time or two. I actually know what I'm talking about. So, just like we said, I mean, the only logical build here is with Lita, with Charlotte. But even if Charlotte, comes in the Rumble herself and eliminates Lita, then you still have that storyline to build with. So, honestly, that's why I see Lita realistically winning this Royal Rumble. But, Louie, it's the Royal Rumble. Anything can happen. They say in WWE, expect the unexpected. So, we're going to expect the unexpected and hope to see Lita win the Rumble.
Well, I think I'm still going to stick with Bianca because I think the history of the Rumble, it's about building up stars and giving them that moment. And I think that kind of push, giving Bianca a 2-time Rumble, I think that is still a very prestigious thing to have on her wrestling resume. And like you said earlier, I think right now Charlotte doesn't have a match for the Rumble. What's stopping her entering, maybe wanting to replicate Becky 2 belts, and her throwing Lita over the top rope and then we get that match. I still think that match is possible. I just think Bianca is the correct choice.
All right, Lou. I mean, we're sitting here talking about the Royal Rumble match, but there's still a lot of other exciting matches on the card. We got 2 championship matches. We got a mixed tag team match between the It couple and the Grit couple. I hope to see Edge absolutely mop the floor with Miz and Maurice. But just take a look now at the WWE Championship match. What a time! It's going to be Brock versus Lashley. You see, we each got the other person winning that match. So honestly, I see Cowboy Brock taking that and going into WrestleMania red hot. So, Louie, I'm going to go ahead and let you tell us why you think the almighty Bobby Lashley is going to win the belt.
So now, there's a special thing with the Rumble is that it is the time that every storyline resets. And a lot of the casual fans come out of the woodwork and they start watching WWE again. And this match is the match to pay off for those casuals. You don't need to know any history. This is going to be 2 big guys getting in the ring, and they are going to hurt each other. And to be honest, I just see Bobby winning. I think, obviously, Brock has only kind of won this belt, really, because of Roman's COVID case, and I think that now we need to get back on track. We need to get Brock back over challenging Roman, and we need to give Big Bobby his belt.
Right. I mean, this is the match that a lot of fans would want to see for a long time, especially when the rumors of Bobby coming back and Brock being a part-timer, like they wanted to see these 2 clash. So why not, have this match here in St. Louis and kind of build to have it pay off at the world's biggest stadium in Texas at WrestleMania, and exclude Roman from the title picture for a change, because it seems like he's been in the title picture ever since he debuted in WWE at Survivor Series. So I don't know. I see Brock winning for the sole purpose of I just don't see Lashley going over clean unless they have some sort of storyline where Roman comes out, Paul portrays Brock, and it's a whole thing there, even though Roman has a title match later that night or before, depending on how the card works out. So I just don't realistically see Brock losing here. Brock has way too much to lose, especially now that he's portraying a cowboy, and he's honestly the most entertaining thing on WWE television. I don't care what you say, other than the one-man band Heath Slater back in the day. Cowboy Brock is where it's at. This is where the money's at, guys.
I can definitely see this taking the Drew Goldberg slot from last year, opening the show and just being, even though we are dealing with 2 very athletic big men, I think this is going to be a short, heavy-hitting bout. And honestly, I just see Lashley taking it. I think he's just going to have that edge. And like I said, in the reality terms, I think Brock needs to get back with Roman. And ultimately, I think a win over Brock would legitimize Lashley even more. And maybe he does go over, if Big E wins the Rumble, he does beat Big E, which I'm not totally for, but I wasn't totally for Drew losing last year, and I was proved wrong after that because that run from Bobby was just immense.
Right. I mean, instead of, we talked about Roman enough, so let's go ahead and move into his title match against the Monday Night Messiah, Mr. Burn It Down himself, Seth freaking Rollins. He's taking on his former Shield brethren, Roman Reigns, for the Universal Championship here at the Royal Rumble. And, you see now, both of us have Roman winning. But there's a little bit of trickery when it comes to us agreeing on who's going to win. Louie, I'm going to let you go ahead and tell everybody how you think this match is going to go first, and then I'll take it away.
So as I said previously, with Bobby and Brock being the match that is purely for the casuals in my point of view, this Seth Roman match is the complete opposite. This is paying off for being around WWE for, unfortunately, what is now the last 10 years of the Shield running the show. And I think Rollins has been tremendous. This shows WWE, when they want to do booking correctly, which isn't very often, they can actually do it very well. And Seth has come in, he's produced this great storyline. We had the callback when the Usos saying it was just like him and Dean, which was great. And I think ultimately Seth is going to take the loss, but I do not think that he kind of loses anything in that. I think it's always been expected. Everyone is expecting Roman to win. Roman is going to get the WrestleMania moment, but this year we might actually cheer him.
Right. And, before I go ahead and explain how I think this match is going to go, I just kind of want to recall to my Royal Rumble prediction. And I know I said The Rock's not going to be in the Royal Rumble because of his deal with the UFC. But just hear me out real quick. So let's say Roman and Seth are having this 5-star match. They're going back and forth. Who's going to win? You don't know. And then all of a sudden, Roman spears Seth. And then Seth, just miraculously gets up. Not no-sells it, but just gets up kind of quicker than Roman and starts to set up for the stomp. And then you hear, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. And The Rock comes down, distracts Rollins. Roman spears Seth. 1, 2, 3. Roman wins, sets up a match at Mania with Rock for the belt, and hear me out with this, sets up Rock versus Seth at the next pay-per-view so Rock can get his practice match in to get the ring rust off so that when it comes to WrestleMania, he can produce just as good, if not even better, of matches when he was in the ring fighting Triple H and Stone Cold at WrestleMania.
Now, as much as I would love to see The Rock come back, I think that I'd probably be more likely to see Seth win and almost do exactly what he did when he had the heist of the century and steal that moment from Reigns, but it's unlikely. I think Roman is going to take it, but I would love to see Seth replicate the heist of the century because, Roman was involved in that moment, and all Roman did was lay on his back and stare at the lights. Everyone remembers Seth running down and winning that belt. Reigns lying on the canvas is another story.
Right. I mean, that was arguably the greatest WrestleMania moment in history, regardless of the TLC. That was just one of those better moments that you don't ever want to see again. But, that's going to do it for the Royal Rumble predictions. Louie, I love that you came back and that you're here behind the desk. We're going to have you back very soon on the show, whether it's all three of us or just me and you. But, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, what is overtime in the NFL anymore? Find out right after this.
Play Eric Amarola's Race Day Mix.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here to talk about what overtime is and why the NFL needs to change it. Cooper, before we go ahead and get underway, I just want to say what an exciting divisional round we had. Probably the most exciting divisional round we've ever had as NFL playoff fans. Cooper, why don't you go ahead and break down through the thicket and tell us what really went down?
Well, to keep it short and simple, out of all 4 games that were played this weekend, all 4 of them ended with a game-winning field goal or a touchdown. It was a crazy game from Matty Ice, should I say, going downfield to knock off Tom the Goat Brady, to the Bills getting shocked with having 13 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter, thinking it's over, but Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce to set up the field goal to go in overtime. And then you have the Bengals shocking the Titans, the number 1 seed going down to Joe Burr, as people are talking about. He's got the whole state of Ohio cheering around him. And it was just exciting football. Green Bay choking like they always do. I mean, some things never change, but it was a great weekend for football.
Yeah, Cooper, you talked about Green Bay choking there, and, it's kind of funny how they've had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, arguably some of the best quarterbacks of all time, and they only have 2 Super Bowls to show for it in the last 30 years. I mean, you kind of said it yourself where we saw the exciting games, the Bengals over the Titans. Sorry, Brewer family, it just had to happen. I told you. We had the Rams. Wow, the Rams played great. They're looking to be Super Bowl favorites. If they win this week against the 49ers, they will be the second team in NFL history to have the Super Bowl in their home field, even though, just like you said before we came back, even though they don't have any fans. But you really look at it, and man, Cooper, we talked a lot before the show, and you really were bugged by just one thing. You were bugged by the fact that the Chiefs won the toss, went down the field, scored, and the Kansas City Chiefs walked away and defeated the Buffalo Bills. Now, Cooper, I just want to ask you, how do you really feel about overtime, and can you give us a definition of what overtime is and should look like inside professional football?
Well, let's look at it. Let's break down the game real quick. 25 points were scored in the final 2 minutes of that game. So that means defense is coming on and off the field, and they're exhausted. You see Josh Allen driving 75 yards downfield, scoring, thinking it's over. And then you have the Chiefs, they go right downfield and score. And then it's back and forth, back and forth. And then it comes to overtime. Both defenses are exhausted. Whoever wins the toss is going to win. And like you saw it when the Chiefs won the toss, you saw Josh Allen. He walked away. He knew it was over because overtime in the NFL, it just blatantly sucks. I'm just plain and simple right there. Because if they want to make it good, go to old-time college overtime rules. None of the two-point conversion they have in college. I hate that now, by the way. You need real overtime rules like college were, and go with that. Because then you'll get an actual game. Then you'll actually get a chance. Defenses, it won't be a one-play drive downfield score. It's just, it has to change. It was brought up when the Patriots knocked off the Chiefs a couple of years ago, and Chiefs fans were wanting to change, and now the Chiefs fans, they're trying to hide the fact that they didn't argue about changing the overtime rules a couple of years ago.
All right, Gerber, so when you say you wanted the old college football overtime rules, so you're saying you want, and correct me if I'm wrong, you want both teams get possessions with the ball at the opponent's 25-yard line. They have 4 downs to score or kick a field goal, and then the opponent has a chance to match or do better. If it goes past 2 overtimes, then they must attempt a 2-point conversion if a touchdown scored, and if they get a stop on the drive beforehand and the other team scores, then it's game over.
Yes, because then that's fair play. I mean,
right.
It's the only way. And then the best part about that, if they do that for regular season and playoffs, then there's no more ties. NFL, no one wants a tie. No one cares. Ties are dumb. This isn't Little League soccer where everyone gets the participation trophy. No. We want a flat-out winner and a loser. None of this tie.
Right. I mean, it just comes to a point where somebody has to lose, somebody has to win, and it's time to stop catering to everybody's feelings and just really declare a winner. But, you know, Cooper, regardless of the overtime rules, we got a lot of exciting games coming up in the conference championship. On your screen now, you got the Chiefs and the Bengals. The Bengals defeated the Chiefs in the regular season, and then you got the Rams and the Niners. The Niners, a team of the 90s, no pun intended. They really were that team that was really going to win that game, win the NFC. And, you know, not to mention this is the 3rd time they played each other this year. Not only are they divisional rivals, but this is going to be the time that Jimmy Garoppolo was able to prove that he was the better man in 2016 when Tom Brady was suspended because of Deflategate. This is going to be the time that Jimmy Garoppolo hushes all the critics up and really wins the big one. You know, don't get me wrong. I would love to see the Rams win. You know, one of my best friends, Braden Moore, shout out to you, is a big Rams fan. You know, saw The American Underdog, a movie about Kurt Warner. What a great movie that was, you know. But everybody loves the upsets. And the 49ers were a team, if they didn't beat this same Rams team 3 weeks ago, then the Saints would have been in the playoffs. Speaking of the Saints, breaking news came out today that Sean Payton has announced his retirement from the NFL. You know, hate to see him go, Saints fan, whatever. But anyways, back to the playoffs. It's really a time of test. David versus Goliath. Will Matt Stafford and the Rams do the job, get the Niners out of there, and really go on to the Super Bowl to play the winner of the Chiefs and Bengals? Now, you guys already know who I want to win the AFC Championship game. Joey Ice, Joe Burrow, straight from Louisiana State University with Jamar Chase. Give me them Bengals in the Super Bowl, beating either the Rams or 49ers. But in the NFC, you know, Cooper, I really want to see the Niners pull it out. I really want to see the upset. I really want them to shut the Rams up and kill the hype because, you know, now that OBJ is out of Cleveland and in LA, he's been thriving. But, you know, regardless, it's going to be an exciting game either way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bracket, Rams, 49er, Chiefs, Bengals. You know, originally, me and you both, we had the Bengals going all the way. But after watching the Bengals play the Titans and Joe Burrow just getting hit after play, getting hit every single play of that game, if the O-line doesn't show up against this Chiefs team, I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to get it done. As much as I want to see someone other than the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I just don't see it if the O-line doesn't show up for the Bengals. Now, I got to go with the Rams. I'm on the Matthew Stafford hype train. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm jumping on that train. I would love to see Matty Ice finally getting out of Detroit where his career was basically wasted and see him win that game, lift the Lombardi trophy up into the sky, get the MVP, what he truly deserves to put him in the talks of one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game because, you know, he never got the respect he's deserved, but he's earning it right now, and it's his time.
Yeah, Cooper, and it's crazy because you look at these 4 teams, and you know what 2 names are not anywhere associated with either of these teams? The name Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. 2 guys that have dominated their conferences, except, now that Tom Brady's in the NFC for right now. 2 men that have really dominated their conferences respectively. Now, is it signs that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are on their way out of the NFL? No. I don't think either player is going to leave without a Lombardi trophy. Now, what I will say is that Tom Brady, while yes, he's had success in Tampa Bay, maybe it's time for the real test and for him to go to Dallas and try to win them one. That will solidify him as a GOAT. No, I'm just kidding. That was just a joke. I just want to get your reaction because you're an Eagles fan. But regardless of that, it's really time to really open your eyes and say that maybe the future is coming, and it's coming faster than we thought it was. Because, we saw that 13 seconds, it was longer than we thought. 13 seconds is way more than enough time to really win a football game.
With one timeout.
Right, with one timeout. That's something you'd see on Madden 09, Madden 10, and Madden 11 with Madden moments. Which, I miss those. Madden needs to bring those back. But
fix their game.
Yeah, fix their game too. But it just really shows the time of test of time. David versus Goliath, or will the young guy stand tall? You look at the Bengals, you see Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. The world, the country itself is cheering for the Bengals because no one wants to see Jackson Mahomes dance at the Super Bowl. They don't want to see Patrick Mahomes' annoying wife at the Super Bowl. They want to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals go all the way and lift the Lombardi. But what's the narrative? Cooper, let me ask you this. And fans, let me ask you this too. What's the narrative if Matt Stafford wins the NFC Championship game, goes on to the Super Bowl and wins the Super Bowl now that he's out of Detroit? Will that show that Megatron Calvin Johnson Jr. was wrong to stay in Detroit his whole career when he was getting hit time and time again instead of going to a team and getting the Lombardi trophy that he really deserved or an MVP that he really deserved? Will that be the narrative if Matt Stafford goes all the way and wins the Super Bowl? Because this is something I haven't heard yet. I just thought about it. What's the narrative look like if Matt Stafford wins the Super Bowl?
Well, I see it as Calvin Johnson. I feel like no matter what, he wasn't going to leave Detroit. I mean, he got drafted there. And I think Calvin Johnson, like Matthew Stafford, they wanted to build something special in Detroit. They wanted to. They wanted to build it up, have them become winning, playoff contenders every year, maybe a Super Bowl contender every year. They wanted to do that so bad. And, that's why I have a lot of respect for Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson because, they were loyal. They stuck with their team until they couldn't no more. Matthew Stafford had to get traded to leave Detroit. Calvin Johnson had to retire to leave Detroit. It's just one of those they wanted. So, they wanted to win there. They wanted to win. They did. But now, the Rams, they're looking good. Matthew Stafford, I know he has the whole city of Detroit behind him, all of Michigan. They're ready to see Matthew Stafford to get what he deserves.
All right, Cooper. So real quick before we close today, does your Super Bowl prediction change now that we see the conference championship, and who do you have winning this game, winning it all really?
Mine, after this weekend, it does change. Rams, Chiefs, Rams on top. Now I want it to be Rams versus Bengals. I would love that, and I had the Bengals in the championship when we first did this, but the Bengals, they need an O-line before they can make that next step to win. But until that happens, the Chiefs are going to win just solely because defense wins championships. But I got the Rams coming up top for Matty Ice.
Right. I mean, Cooper, you are right in some things, but you're wrong with certain things. I'm still on the Cincinnati hype train. I love the Cincinnati chili because it's chili just like it here is in Jay Vegas. But regardless of that, I got the Bengals moving on against the Rams, and I see the Bengals with the upset against the Rams. But, Cooper, I think we're just about out of time. So remember, everybody, if you want to waste your career away, go to Detroit. Thank you for watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. We will see you guys next time.